The night was cold and silent. A thin wind moved across the empty junkyard, carrying the smell of rust and dust. Piles of broken machines, old cars, and twisted metal lay like dead giants under the pale moonlight. In this place, no one came. No one, except Ryan. Ryan was a young human engineer. He worked alone, far from the city, and liked to collect old metal parts from forgotten places. He had brown hair, tired eyes, and hands that were always covered in oil. Every night he came to the junkyard with a small cart, searching for pieces to build his strange machines. He liked the silence. It was the only time when his mind felt calm, but this night was different. As Ryan walked between tall towers of broken scrap, he stopped. His boots crunched on the gravel, and the sound echoed like glass breaking. He felt something soft, something strange, a sound. At first it was very faint, like a small whimper or cry. He turned his head quickly. "Hello?" Ryan called quietly. His voice sounded strange in the empty space. No answer, only silence again. He shook his head and continued walking, but after a few steps, he heard it again. A tiny cry, a weak, trembling sound. Ryan froze. His heart started to beat faster. Slowly, carefully, he followed the sound. His boots moved like feathers over the ground. He pushed away a broken metal door, then crawled between two piles of old wires. The sound became clearer, a soft whimper, a whisper of pain. He saw something move under a pile of bent pipes. He slowly bent down, moved the pipes away, and then he saw them. Two figures, small, fragile. The first was a girl, maybe 7 years old, but she was not human. Her skin was pale silver, with soft blue light glowing under it like fireflies. Her big eyes glowed faint green in the dark, and tears shone on her cheeks. She hugged the second figure tightly, a taller shape. Being still. The mother. The mother's skin was darker silver and covered in deep cuts. Strange purple blood had dried on her arms. Her breathing was shallow and broken, like a cracked bell. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. Aliens. Real aliens. The little girl stared at him with wide glowing eyes. She did not speak at first. Then, in broken, trembling English, she whispered, "Please, help, Mama." Ryan took one small step back. His mind raced. This was impossible. This was dangerous. What if someone saw them? What if the military was looking for them? But the girl's tiny hands were shaking. She was holding her mother like she was holding her whole world. Ryan felt something heavy in his chest. He had always worked alone. He had never cared about anyone, but now he could not walk away. He slowly lowered his voice. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The girl blinked. Her glowing eyes softened a little. Ryan looked around. The junkyard was silent, but he felt watched. He needed to move fast. He took off his old jacket and wrapped it around the alien mother. The mother gave a weak sound but did not open her eyes. Ryan bent down and lifted her onto his back. She was lighter than he expected, almost like holding warm glass. "Come on," he whispered to the girl. "Stay close." The girl stood up slowly. Her small silver feet touched the cold metal ground. She grabbed Ryan's arm and held on tightly. They started moving between the piles of junk, heading toward the old gate. Ryan's steps were quiet, careful. Then, a sound in the distance. A low hum. He stopped. Bright blue lights appeared far away in the sky. Drones. Silent hunter drones, scanning the junkyard. Their search beams cut through the darkness like knives of light. Ryan's heart jumped. He quickly ducked behind a wall of old car parts, pulling the girl close. The girl pressed her face into his arm, trembling. Bling. The drones floated closer, their lights sweeping over the ground. One beam passed just a few feet from them. Ryan held his breath. Not a sound, not a move. The lights passed. The drones turned away, slowly gliding to the other side of the junkyard. Ryan waited. 10 long seconds. 20. Then he slowly stood up again. "Let's go," he whispered. They moved again, faster now. Finally, they reached the broken gate and slipped into the dark road outside. The cold air hit Ryan's face. He kept walking, his back hurting from the weight, but he didn't stop. The girl stayed silent, still holding his arm tightly. Her glowing eyes looked up at him from the dark, and for the first time, Ryan felt something strange, like someone was trusting him. After a long walk through the silent streets, they reached a hidden workshop at the edge of the city. The building was small and covered in dust. No one came here. No one even remembered it existed. It was Ryan's secret place. He opened the rusty door with his foot and stepped inside. The workshop was dark. full of half-built machines and glowing screens. It smelled of old oil and metal. Ryan gently placed the alien mother on a soft blanket on the floor. The girl knelt beside her, holding her mother's hand. Ryan stood, breathing hard, his heart still fast. He looked at the strange pair, one unconscious, one scared, but brave. He whispered to himself, "Who are you? And why are they hunting you?" The little girl looked up at him silently. Her glowing eyes were full of fear and hope. The screen fades to black. The old door of the workshop closed with a soft metallic thud. Inside, the air was warm and smelled of oil, metal, and dust. Faint blue lights blinked from broken screens and silent machines that Ryan had built from scrap. Ryan gently placed the alien mother on a thick blanket in the corner. Her breathing was weak and uneven. Purple blood stained her silver skin. The little alien girl stayed close, holding her mother's hand tightly. Her glowing green eyes moved around the strange room, full of wires, tools, and rusted robot arms. Ryan stood still for a moment, unsure what to do next. His heart was still racing from the chase in the junkyard. He had never seen an alien before tonight, and now, there were two of them in his secret place. He took a slow breath and knelt beside the injured mother. "Okay," he whispered, almost to himself. "Let's see what I can do." Ryan had studied human machines all his life. He was not a doctor, but he knew how to fix broken things. Maybe that would be enough. He brought a small scanner from the shelf. It was old and half broken, but the screen still worked. He waved it gently over the alien mother's body. The screen showed strange shapes, glowing lines inside her. Not bones, something else. Ryan frowned. Not human, but maybe similar. The little girl watched every move, her eyes wide. When the scanner beeped loudly, she flinched and made a soft sound like a frightened bird. Ryan raised his hand slowly. "It's okay. I'm trying to help." The girl said nothing, but her glowing eyes softened a little. Ryan pulled out a box of clean cloth, water, and his best healing gel. A thick blue paste he used for fixing robotic burns. He didn't know if it would work on alien skin, but he had no other choice. "Hold her still," he said gently. The girl nodded and placed her tiny hands on her mother's arm. Ryan cleaned the wounds carefully, removing dried purple blood. The mother gave a weak groan, but her breathing stayed steady. Ryan then spread the blue healing gel over the cuts. The gel hissed softly and turned bright for a second. To his surprise, the glowing cuts slowly began to close. Ryan blinked. "It's working." The little girl's eyes grew wide with wonder. She looked at him, and for the first time, she gave a small smile, soft and shy. Ryan felt something strange in his chest, warm, new. He smiled back. When he watched it, as done, he covered the mother with a warm old blanket and turned on a small heater beside her. "She needs rest," Ryan said softly. "Maybe she will wake up tomorrow." The little girl sat beside her mother, still holding her hand. She looked small and fragile under the dim lights. Her silver skin glowed faintly like moonlight. Ryan stood and walked to the other side of the workshop. He sat at his messy desk, staring at the old cracked window. Outside, the night was silent and black. He thought about the drones. They were not normal police drones. They were hunters, military machines. If they were searching the junkyard, it meant someone already knew the aliens were here. If they find them here, they will take them away, or worse. Ryan closed his eyes. He had always been alone. He liked it that way. People never understood his machines. They called him strange, broken, useless. He never cared. But tonight, something had changed. He could not let anyone hurt the girl or her mother. A soft sound broke his thoughts. He opened his eyes. The little girl was walking around the workshop quietly. She touched an old robot arm and it moved slightly, creaking. She giggled softly, a sound like tiny bells. Ryan blinked in surprise. It was the first happy sound she had made. She found a small broken toy robot on a shelf. Its head was missing, wires sticking out. She brought it to Ryan, holding it out carefully. "Fix?" she whispered. Ryan took the toy gently. He smiled. "Okay." He opened his toolbox and started repairing it with quick, practiced hands. The girl watched closely, her glowing eyes full of curiosity. After a few minutes, the toy's eyes lit up red and it walked in a small circle, squeaking. The girl gasped and clapped her hands. A soft blue glow sparkled across her skin when she smiled. Ryan stared for a moment, amazed. "She really is not from this world," he whispered. The girl sat on the floor and played quietly with the robot. her fear slowly fading. Ryan leaned back in his chair and looked at her. She was still just a child, and yet she had survived something terrible. He looked toward the sleeping mother. Her breathing was deeper now, steady. The gel was still glowing on her healed wounds. Ryan whispered to himself, "I have to keep them safe, somehow." Outside, the wind howled softly against the old walls of the workshop. The city was silent. No one knew about the two glowing visitors hidden here. No one except Ryan. And he decided, at that moment, that he would protect them, even if it meant hiding from the whole world. The next morning, the workshop was quiet and warm. Soft light came through the broken window. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. Ryan woke up on his chair, his head resting on the table. He rubbed his eyes and looked around. The alien mother was still sleeping on the blanket, breathing slow but steady. The blue healing gel had faded, leaving smooth silver skin where the wounds had been. The little alien girl was curled up beside her mother, her tiny hands holding her mother's arm like it was the only safe thing in the world. Ryan stood slowly, his body stiff from working all night. He walked to the sink, washed his face, and stared into the cracked mirror. He still couldn't believe it. Two living aliens were inside his hidden workshop. And somehow, they were now his responsibility. Ryan turned back to them. The girl opened her glowing green eyes, sleepy and quiet. When she saw Ryan, she smiled softly. Small, shy, but real. "Good morning," Ryan said gently. She didn't reply in words, only nodded. Ryan looked at the mother. "She needs more rest," he whispered. "But she's healing." The girl tilted her head. "Thank you," she said, the words slow and broken. Ryan blinked. She had learned them from him last night. She was trying. A strange warmth filled his chest. She trusted him. But Ryan also knew the truth. The workshop was not safe. The military drones could come back at any time. If they found this place, everything would be over. They needed a better place, a place where no one would ever find them. Ryan's eyes slowly turned toward the junkyard. Hidden, forgotten, full of endless metal and broken things. Perfect. That night, Ryan quietly left the workshop. He walked back to the junkyard with his old cart and a flashlight wrapped in cloth to keep it dim. The wind whistled through the piles of scrap. The moon watched like a silent eye above. He searched for hours. He looked for strong metal panels, rusted steel beams, old solar cells, anything that could be useful. He worked silently, moving like a shadow between dead machines. Piece by piece, he carried them to an old sunken pit at the far edge of the junkyard, a place where no one ever went. It was deep, hidden under fallen towers of junk. From above, it just looked like a hole filled with trash. But Ryan saw something else. He saw a home. He worked all night. He placed steel beams to make a hidden frame inside the pit. He built walls from thick panels and covered them with layers of scrap, making them look like nothing but trash from the outside. He connected old solar cells to a battery pack, adding lights inside. He found a broken air purifier and repaired it. He used old foam from car seats to make soft beds. His hands were cut and bleeding by morning. His clothes were covered in dust and grease. But inside the pit, something new stood. A small, hidden shelter, glowing softly in the darkness like a secret star. Ryan stood at the entrance and smiled tiredly. It was not beautiful, but it was safe. The next evening, he returned to the workshop to bring them there. The alien mother was awake now, sitting weakly against the wall. Her silver skin had healed, and her eyes, a deep glowing blue, watched Ryan with quiet caution. The little girl sat beside her, holding her hand. When she saw Ryan, she jumped up and ran to him with a bright smile. Ryan knelt to her level. "I made something," he said softly. "Come see." The mother tried to stand. She was still weak, so Ryan helped her. Her tall, thin frame was lighter than he expected. She moved slowly, like walking through water. The little girl stayed close to her, holding her arm. They walked through the silent streets at night. The girl held Ryan's hand now, her glowing eyes full of curiosity. The mother walked behind them, silent but watching. When they reached the junkyard, Ryan led them through the maze of metal, past the old gate and the towers of scrap. He stopped at the hidden pit. The girl peeked down into the hole, her eyes widened with wonder. Ryan climbed down first, then held out his hands. The girl slid down with a small laugh like ringing bells. The mother followed carefully. Inside, the hidden shelter glowed with soft, warm light. Small lamps hung on the walls. There were two soft beds made from old seat foam, a small table made from a car door, and a heater humming gently. The girl's glowing skin brightened with excitement. She ran around the small room, touching everything. She laughed, a sound full of life. Ryan watched her silently. For the first time, she looked like a normal child, safe, happy. The mother stood quietly at the entrance. Her glowing blue eyes moved slowly over the walls, the lights, the beds. Finally, she looked at Ryan. She spoke softly, her voice like wind through glass. The words were not English. They were strange musical sounds. Ryan didn't understand them, but he understood her tone. "Thank you." Ryan nodded. "You're welcome," he whispered. The girl climbed onto one of the soft beds, giggling, and curled up under a blanket. The mother sat on the other bed, still watching Ryan carefully, but with less fear now. Ryan sat down on the floor, tired but smiling. Outside, the cold wind passed over the junkyard. Above them, the world was silent and unaware. Here, hid, then under mountains of broken things, they had found something new. A home. The nights grew colder. The hidden shelter in the junkyard stayed warm and glowing like a tiny secret sun. Days passed quietly. Ryan visited every evening with food, water, and small tools. The alien mother grew stronger, her silver skin bright and smooth again. The little girl laughed more now, her glowing green eyes full of life. She followed Ryan everywhere, copying his words, touching his tools, and asking for broken toys to fix. For a short time, it felt almost peaceful. But peace never lasts for long. One cloudy night, Ryan was at his workshop working on an old drone engine. The air smelled of oil and heat. He hummed softly while tightening a bolt, then stopped. Something felt wrong. He looked at the monitor on his desk, a radar screen he had built to detect city drones nearby. A red dot blinked slowly on the edge of the map, then another, then 3 more. Ryan's heart dropped. They were coming. Military hunter drones, the same ones from that night. He stared at the screen, frozen for a second. Then he moved fast. He grabbed his jacket, tools, and a bag of emergency supplies. He ran out of the workshop and into the dark streets, his boots hitting the pavement hard. The wind was sharp. Clouds moved like dark smoke across the moon. He reached the junkyard, breathing hard. The place was silent, dead. Only the soft hum of the hidden shelter came from below the mountains of scrap. Ryan climbed down quickly. The little girl looked up from her bed smiling. "Ryan," she said, her voice bright, but her smile faded when she saw his face. "We have to hide," Ryan said quickly. "Now!" The mother stood, tall and calm, but her glowing blue eyes turned sharp. She felt the danger too. She whispered something in her soft alien language to the girl. The girl nodded and held her mother's hand tightly. Ryan turned off the heater, the lights, everything. The shelter became dark and cold. Only the soft glow from the alien's skin lit the space like faint moonlight. And they waited. Minutes passed. Silence pressed on them like a heavy stone. Then, a low hum filled the air outside. Ryan's body tensed. Through the thin metal ceiling, they saw faint blue lights sweep across the junkyard above. The hunter drones were here, searching. The girl squeezed Ryan's hand. Her small silver fingers were cold and shaking. Ryan gently put a finger to his lips. Shh. Outside, the drones moved between towers of broken metal, their beams slicing through the night like cold knives. They scanned every pile, every shadow. Ryan's breath was slow and quiet. He pressed his back to the wall. The mother stood like a silver statue, her glowing eyes unblinking. Then, a sharp crack. A piece of scrap above their shelter shifted and fell. It hit the ground with a loud clang. The hum of the drones grew louder. Ryan's eyes went wide. He mouthed, "Don't move." Light flashed through a gap in the ceiling. A search beam stopped above the pit. It stayed there, hovering. They were seconds away from being found. Ryan's mind raced. If the drones found them here, they would send soldiers. They would take the aliens. They might even kill them. No, he couldn't let that happen. Slowly, Ryan crawled to the far corner of the shelter, where a narrow tunnel led to the other side of the junkyard. He had built it as an emergency exit just in case. He opened the metal cover silently. "Follow me," he whispered. The girl nodded quickly. The mother moved carefully, silent as wind. They crawled into the narrow tunnel, Ryan leading, the girl in the middle, the mother behind. The air inside was cold and smelled of rust. Behind them, the search beam brightened. A thin metal wall above cracked as the drone scanned it. Sparks fell. Ryan moved faster. They crawled through the twisting tunnel of scrap until they reached the far end. Ryan pushed up a heavy grate and coal. Night air rushed in. He peeked out. The area was dark, no drones nearby. "Go," he whispered. They climbed out one by one and slipped between the shadows of broken cars. Ryan led them through the maze of junk, careful and fast. The girl held his arm tightly, her glowing eyes wide with fear. The mother moved silently, watching the sky. Far behind them, a sharp alarm sound rang through the junkyard. The drones had found the empty shelter. Ryan's heart pounded. He pushed them faster. At last, they reached a hidden storage shed on the edge of the junkyard, an old collapsed building. Ryan forced open the door and led them inside. It was dark and cold, but safe for now. They sank to the ground, breathing hard. The little girl buried her face in Ryan's chest, trembling. Ryan held her gently, his hands shaking too. The mother stood near the door, listening to the distant hum of drones outside. Ryan closed his eyes. The shelter he built, their home, was no longer safe. The hunters had found it. He had only one thought left now. They have to disappear completely. Hide deeper, smarter, stronger, even if he had to build an entire new world for them out of scrap. The old storage shed was silent and dark. Outside, the junkyard slept under a cold gray sky. The wind carried the distant hum of searching drones, fading slowly into the night. Inside, Ryan sat against the cracked wall, breathing quietly. The little alien girl was curled up beside him, fast asleep. Her tiny silver hands held his sleeve tightly, even in her dreams. Her glowing green eyes were closed, soft light pulsing gently from under her skin like the slow beat of a small heart. The alien mother stood near the broken door, silent as a statue. Her glowing blue eyes watched the night through the cracks. Every movement of her thin silver body was calm and sharp, like a blade made of light. Ryan had not spoken for a long time. He was thinking. They had lost their shelter. The drones had found it. Soon, soldiers might come. They needed to move. They needed a better place, and most of all, he needed to know why they were being hunted. Ryan's tired eyes lifted to the mother. "Why are they chasing you?" he whispered. For the first time, the mother turned to look at him fully. The air around her seemed to grow colder. She stepped closer. Ryan's hands tightened on his knees. Her voice came soft and slow, musical, but heavy. "Child holds the core," she said in broken English. "They want her." Ryan blinked. "Core?" The mother touched her chest lightly. "Power, inside. She, very small. But core is big." She pointed gently to the sleeping girl. Ryan's heartbeat jumped. He looked down at the girl. She was glowing faintly in her sleep, soft waves of blue light rippling across her skin. It was beautiful and frightening. "What kind of power?" Ryan asked carefully. The mother's glowing eyes darkened. "Starlight, energy of world. She not know, not control. But they know. They want to take her." Ryan swallowed hard. So that was it. The drones, the hunters, they were not just chasing refugees. They were after something powerful. The girl was not just a child. She was carrying something inside her, something that could change everything. Ryan looked back at the mother. If they get her, what will happen? The mother's voice was flat. They use her, machine, weapon, no more stars. Ryan's chest went cold. He understood. If they caught her, they would turn her into a weapon, maybe even destroy worlds. He looked at the sleeping girl again. She looked so small, so peaceful, like she was just dreaming of toys and stars. He whispered to himself, "She's just a kid." The mother knelt down, her silver hand touching Ryan's shoulder. Her touch was cold and light. "You help," she said softly. Not a question, a belief. Ryan stared at her. He had spent his whole life alone, hiding from people, building machines from broken parts. He had never been brave. He had never protected anyone. But now, he knew he had no choice. "Yes," he said finally, "I'll protect her." The mother's blue eyes softened just for a second. She bowed her head slightly, then stood again. Ryan stayed awake that night. While the girl slept, he drew quick plans on broken pieces of metal. They could not hide in this shed forever. It was cold, weak, and open. If the drones came back, they would be trapped. He needed to build something better, something strong, something invisible. His mind raced. The junkyard had everything. Old machine parts, heavy steel, broken drone cloaks, signal jammers. He had the skills. He could build a hidden underground bunker deep inside the metal mountains, sealed from scanners, with false heat signatures to confuse the hunters. It would be dangerous, hard, almost impossible. But Ryan was used to impossible. At dawn, the girl woke up. Her glowing eyes blinked sleepily. She rubbed them with tiny silver fists and smiled at Ryan. "Morning," she whispered. Ryan smiled back. "Morning." She picked up the broken toy robot he had fixed days ago and made it walk in small circles. She giggled, blue sparkles flashing across her skin. Ryan stared at her glow. He thought about the core, the starlight inside her. He thought about the soldiers who would come for her, and he thought about the bunker he would build to stop them. "Play here with your mom," Ryan said softly. "I'll be back soon." The girl tilted her head. "Where?" "Building," Ryan said simply, and smiled. She nodded slowly, still hugging the toy. Ryan left the shed quietly. The sky was gray, the air cold. He walked through the junkyard alone, pushing his old cart. He moved quickly, silently, collecting everything he needed. Thick steel plates, heavy beams, old drone shields, cracked energy cells, tangled wires, and large pieces of lead scrap to block scanners. His hands bled, his shoulders burned, but he kept working, dragging the heavy pieces deep into the hidden parts of the junkyard where even the drones didn't see. Hours passed. The sun crossed the sky and disappeared. The moon rose like a silver eye. By the time he returned to the shed, he was exhausted, but his eyes were burning with quiet fire. The little girl ran to him. "Ryan," he smiled tiredly and ruffled her glowing hair. "Hey, Starshine." The mother stood in the corner, silent as ever, but her eyes watched him with something new. Trust. Ryan sat on the cold floor. He opened his sketch again. A plan. A hidden underground fortress under the junkyard, sealed from the world. It was madness, but it was the only way. He looked at the girl. She was sitting on the floor, playing with the robot, humming a soft tune, small blue lights dancing across her skin. Ryan whispered to himself, "I'll keep you safe, whatever it takes." Outside, the night grew darker. Inside, Ryan's mind grew sharper, because now he knew the truth. He was not just building a shelter anymore. He was building a fortress to protect a star. The night was cold and silent. The stars hung like silver nails in the black sky. Deep inside the junkyard, Ryan worked without rest. His hands were covered in dust, his face streaked with oil and sweat. Behind an old hill of rusted car parts, a secret tunnel had begun to take shape. He had cut deep into the ground with an old plasma saw, building a hidden path down below. Inside the tunnel, walls of scrap metal rose slowly like ribs of a steel beast. The little alien girl sat on a broken box nearby, swinging her legs and humming softly. Her glowing green eyes watched him with endless curiosity. Sometimes she handed him tools with her tiny silver hands. Sometimes she just smiled. The alien mother stood like a silent guard, always scanning the shadows. Ryan kept working. Every bolt, every plate, every wire mattered. He had to finish the underground fortress before the hunters found them. But that night, they came early. It started as a hum, far away, like a distant swarm of bees. Ryan froze. His wrench slipped from his fingers and clattered to the ground. The mother's eyes flashed sharp blue. Her head turned slowly toward the sound. The girl stopped humming. The hum grew louder, closer. Then, lights. Sharp red dots swept across the dark sky like angry eyes. Ryan's chest went cold. "Drones," he whispered. The mother hissed low. "Hide." Ryan grabbed the girl's hand. "Come on." They ran through the maze of junk. Sharp metal scraped Ryan's arms as he pulled the girl behind him. The mother glided silently behind them, her blue glow fading to black as she cloaked herself in darkness. High above, the drones swooped down, black and silver shapes with spinning wings and burning red eyes. Their scanners cut through the piles of scrap like knives of light. One drone stopped and turned. Its red eye locked on Ryan's trail. Then it screamed. A high, piercing alarm split the night. Red beams shot across the junkyard. "They found us!" Ryan shouted. They reached the old shed just as the first blast hit. A burning red bolt exploded against the wall, throwing metal shards into the air. The roof cracked and fell in flames. Ryan threw himself over the girl, shielding her with his body. The mother raised her arms and let out a sharp cry. A wave of blue energy burst from her hands, slamming into the nearest drone. It spun out of the sky and crashed into the ground with a shower of sparks. Ryan grabbed the girl and ran again. "This way!" They raced between the tall piles of scrap. The drones chased, screaming like metal demons, firing red bolts that melted the ground where they hit. Ryan's lungs burned, his legs screamed. He could hear the girl crying softly, holding on to him tight. "Almost there," he shouted, though he wasn't sure where there was. Suddenly, the mother leapt in front of them. She raised both arms and slammed them down. A wave of glowing blue light ripped through the ground. The metal piles exploded out. Ward, crashing down like collapsing towers, blocking the drone's path. Ryan stared. The mother's body flickered, her light dimming, her movement slow. The attack had drained her. "Go!" she gasped. Ryan nodded, pulling the girl into the half-finished tunnel he had built earlier. They stumbled down into the darkness, crawling through the tight space. Above them, the drones screamed, trying to blast through the fallen scrap. Sparks and fire rained down the tunnel entrance. Metal groaned, the whole place shook. Ryan shoved the girl ahead of him. "Keep going, don't stop." The tunnel opened into a small underground chamber he had dug the day before. It was unfinished, just bare dirt walls and a few steel plates. But it was something. He pushed the girl inside and turned. The mother slid in after them, her light faint, her body trembling. Then the tunnel behind them exploded. A red bolt smashed through the entrance. The blast threw Ryan across the chamber. Dust and metal shards filled the air. The girl screamed. The drones had found the tunnel. They were coming. Ryan forced himself up. His arms shook. His ears rang. He saw his old power cart nearby, stacked with heavy batteries and a cracked plasma coil. An idea hit him like lightning. He grabbed the coil, slammed it into the battery, and twisted the wires. Sparks burst out. The mother saw what he was doing. Her dim blue eyes widened. "Too strong," she warned. "Exactly," Ryan said through clenched teeth. The first drone crawled through the shattered tunnel, its red eye burning. It aimed its cannon at them. Ryan screamed and jammed the live coil into the steel floor. A blinding flash ripped through the chamber. Electricity roared like thunder. The shockwave tore through the tunnel. The drone exploded in midair, shattering into burning pieces. The tunnel walls collapsed behind it, burying the rest of Tian. He swarmed under tons of scrap metal and dirt. Then, silence. Ryan fell to his knees, gasping for breath. Smoke curled from his jacket. The coil melted into black ash. The girl crawled to him, her glowing eyes wide with fear and wonder. "You saved us," she whispered. Ryan smiled weakly. "Still alive," he said, and coughed. The mother looked at him for a long time. Then she bowed her head. "Human, strong." Ryan forced himself up. His body ached, but his mind was sharp. "This place won't hold long," he said. "We need to finish the fortress before they come back." The girl hugged him tight. He hugged her back gently. Above them, the junkyard lay silent again. But Ryan knew it wouldn't stay that way. The hunters would return, stronger, and next time they wouldn't stop. But neither would he, because now, he wasn't just building a fortress. He was preparing for war. The sun rose slowly over the junkyard, painting the world in pale orange light. But deep below the surface there was no morning. Only darkness, dust, and the steady sound of Ryan's hammer. For 3 days and 3 nights, Ryan barely slept. He worked like a machine. His hands were raw and bleeding. His eyes were red from smoke and lack of sleep. But he kept building. The small dirt chamber from before had grown wider, deeper, stronger. Now, thick walls of steel plates lined the room. Pipes and wires ran across the ceiling like iron veins. Old cooling fans hummed quietly, pushing the stale air away. The little alien girl watched from a corner, sitting cross-legged on a stack of scrap cushions. Her glowing eyes followed Ryan everywhere. Sometimes she clapped when a wall section locked into place. Sometimes she ran to him with a bolt or wire, smiling proudly. The alien mother worked too, though she never spoke. Her silver hands moved like shadows, lifting heavy beams as if they were paper, welding cracks shut with streams of blue energy. She moved silently, but her presence filled the space like cold light. Ryan had never built anything this big before. Not for long. Scrap. Not while being hunted. But he was not just building for himself anymore. He called the place the Core Nest, because it would be the nest for the little core girl. And because if the hunters wanted her, they would have to rip through every wall, trap, and trick he could build. Ryan drew new plans on a dirty piece of metal. He whispered to himself as he worked. Camouflage layer, false heat vents, shielded door, EMP grid, backup power. Every piece of junk became a part of something bigger. Old car doors became armor panels. Broken drone parts became motion sensors. Dead batteries became booby traps. Even the rusted steel bones of the junkyard became part of the underground walls. At night, when the others slept, Ryan climbed silently to the surface. He dragged more scrap down the tunnel in his squeaky cart. He covered the entrance with a fake pile of trash so no drone would see it. The stars watched him from above, silent and cold. By the 5th day, the fortress began to look alive. It was no longer just a hole in the ground. It was a hidden world. A heavy blast door now sealed the tunnel entrance. It was made from the hull of an old cargo shuttle 10 inches thick, lined with lead to block scanners. Inside, Ryan built small rooms from welded plates, a sleeping space with warm cloth walls and soft cushions from old car seats, a workshop with bright lights, buzzing tools, and spare energy cells, and a safe center chamber lined with curved shields where the girl could hide if everything else failed. He also built decoys on the surface, fake heat signals and sound emitters hidden in piles of junk. If the drones came back, they would chase ghosts while the real fortress stayed quiet below. The mother watched silently as Ryan worked. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was soft. "You change." Ryan blinked, pausing with his wrench. "Change?" "Before," she said slowly, searching for words. "You. Alone. Now. Builder. Protector." Ryan looked at his hands, bruised, black with oil. He looked at the glowing little girl, curled up asleep under a warm blanket of old wires. A faint smile touched his face. "Yeah," he whispered. "Protector." On the 7th night, the fortress was ready enough. Not perfect, not finished, but strong. Ryan stood in the center chamber, hands on his hips, breathing hard. He had dug out tunnels that twisted like a maze. He had set traps in the walls, collapsing beams, sparking tripwires, and hidden EMP mines from cracked drone batteries. Every corner was built to slow, block, confuse, or destroy anything that tried to come inside. The mother stepped beside him, silent as always. The girl ran in from the side tunnel, her glowing hair sparkling like blue fireflies. "Ryan, Ryan," she giggled. "Look what I made." She held up a tiny model of the fortress she had built from old screws and wire bits. Ryan knelt and smiled. "That's amazing," he said. "You're a builder too." The girl grinned and hugged his neck. "We safe now?" Ryan froze. The question cut through his heart like a blade. He wanted to say yes, but he could still hear the scream of the drones, the blast of their weapons, the burning red light in the night. He hugged her back gently. "Safer," he said quietly, "but not done yet." The girl nodded, her glowing eyes full of trust. She didn't understand the danger. She only knew he would protect her. And for Ryan, that was enough. That night, they slept in the new fortress for the first time. The mother stayed awake, sitting in the dark near the door, watching the tunnels. The girl curled up between old blankets, glowing softly in her dreams. Ryan lay on the hard floor, staring at the steel ceiling. His body ached, his hands throbbed, but his mind burned like fire. The hunters would come again. They would come stronger. They would bring more than drones, maybe soldiers, maybe machines. But this time, they would not find a scared scavenger hiding. In a shed, they would find a fortress, and inside it, they would find a human who refused to break. Ryan closed his eyes slowly, whispering into the cold air, "Come and try."